Welcome. This is a notice and call for a special meeting today, Monday, June 5th, 2023. I now call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
District 1, Councilmember Casey.
Present.
District 2, Councilmember Vieira.
Here.
District 4, Councilmember Martinez, absent. District 3, Vice Mayor Silvera.
Here.
Mayor Lopez.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Moving on to citizens' communication. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the City Council meetings, adopted rules allows no more than 5 minutes. Members of the public interested in addressing the City Council during special meetings may address the item which has been described in the notice of special meeting in accordance with the Government Code, Section 54954.3. Anyone wishing to address the City Council must adhere to the rules of decorum. The rules of decorum are posted outside of the chamber's doors. Is there anybody in the public that would like to make a comment? Is there any hands on Zoom?
No hands raised on
Seeing
Zoom.
none. Is there any emails? Okay. Citizen communication is now closed. We are now moving on to consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be enacted by a single motion unless otherwise requested by an individual council member or public for special consideration. Otherwise, the recommendation of staff will be accepted and acted upon a roll call vote. Is there anyone at the council that would like a consent item pulled for further discussion? Is there anyone from the public that would like a consent item pulled for further discussion? Seeing none. Looking for a motion. Before that, excuse me, I would like to announce that the insurance language was added to the exhibit on item number B in the SRO contract. Thank you. Brings us back to council. Looking for a motion.
Motion to approve consent calendar.
Move to approve consent calendar.
Motion, so yours would be a second.
Second.
Roll call, please. No worries.
Councilmember Casey.
Aye.
Councilmember Vieira.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera.
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to a recess and we will return for the public hearing. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We are getting ready to convene. We are now back. City Clerk.
Councilmember Martinez arrived to the meeting at 4:23 PM for the record.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to the public hearing. The public hearing on resolution number 2023-61, adopting the annual budget for the city of Ceres for resolution for the year 2023-2024 fiscal year, approving positions for fiscal year 2023-2024, and resolution number 2023-62, adopting the appropriations limitation for fiscal year 2023-2024. We will now begin, and I would like to make an announcement. Changes that have been made are the list of the elected officials to include the city treasurer, Kayla Martinez. And I will now hand this over to the finance director. Letitia, you are up.
Here. So tonight we are going to present the fiscal year 23-24 budget, and we'll do a presentation, and then we will have questions and comments, and then hopefully we'll have approval. We will start with the presentation. Okay. All right. Like I mentioned, we'll make a presentation, we'll have questions, community input, discussion, and hopefully adoption. Okay, so this is an overview of the 22-23 fiscal year, so the current fiscal year. We started with a beginning balance of 6.86 million. We have projected revenues of 27.21 and expenditures of 27.27. With a projected ending balance of 6.1 million, 25% reserves. For the current fiscal year, projected revenues are, we expect them to come slightly above budget, and expenditures are also expected to come in as budgeted. Final revenue and expenditures will be available in September or October. Not be fully audited till at least December. It is anticipated that we are using 51% of reserves. That will still leave us with the 25% reserve. So for the fiscal year 23-24, we have a balanced budget with the use of $39,000 from reserves. Proposed budget we have before us tonight. Again, revenues are projected slightly above current year, and expenditures are forecasted with increases due to the cost of goods, the negotiated salary increases, retirement and healthcare costs, and public workers' comp and public liability insurance costs. So just a brief overview of the process. The budget process was started in February. We determine internal service fund costs and fixed costs such as utility costs. And then the departments compile their budgets. The finance department compiles the entire document, and then the city manager reviews with each department. The reviews with the city manager were done in March. Again, the proposed draft budget is balanced using $39,415,000 of general fund reserves. The proposed budget does include the ARPA funds that we have budgeted for the project, and council will determine the use of the remaining ARPA funding at a later time. So the following slides are just some graphs that show changes in revenue and expenditure. This first slide is just a change between revenue and expenditures for the last 15 years. This year is similar to last year. Not much of a change. This next slide just breaks the revenue and expenditures down. There's a bar for revenue, and then it breaks out salaries from all other expenditures. And again, this year is similar, or the new fiscal year is similar to the current fiscal year. This is just a graph showing the change in sales tax. It is steadily increasing. Of course, when the price of goods goes up, the price of sales tax goes up. This next slide is our secured property taxes, and they are holding steady for now. They have increased over the last several years. There's a slight increase this year. It's about the same. This is motor vehicle in lieu. It too just steadily increases. And this graph is our cannabis. It has to do with the three cannabis, the two dispensaries and the manufacturer that we have. And because of the development agreements that we've signed, this is it'll be the same amount for, I believe, the next 10 years. So other general fund revenue sources and our future. Our sales tax forecast comes from Muni Services. Any future growth, residential growth we have is we have Whitmore Ranch coming up, Tuscany Village, Copper Trails, and we have commercial growth in the Mitchell Ranch, Series Gateway Center, and other developments along Service and Mitchell. We do have unknowns based regarding inflation or possible recession. There are people who think there's going to be a recession, and there is inflation, but you never know. So the next slide is just our overview of the general fund expenditures, draft expenditures for fiscal year. So this is our 5-year future projection that we have. And the column in yellow is the 23-24 fiscal year. And so it shows that our beginning balance for the new fiscal year will be 6.8 million. We'll have total revenues of 27.4 and total expenditures of 27.5, with the use of reserves of $39,415 to make the revenue and expenditures equal. It'll leave us with an ending fund balance of 6.7 million and 24.6%. A quick overview of Measure H. The positions are 10 police officer positions. We do pay the city of Modesto for the equivalent of 7 firefighters. And we do have one-time expenditures for fire apparatus equipment, loan repayment, tools and equipment for the police department, and ticket writer software, portable radios, and replacement of fire hoses. We do expect an increase in. So to read, well, this is another expenditure summary. So total draft general fund expenditures came in 27.5 million for the new fiscal year. General fund personnel costs are 54% of those expenditures, or 14.8 million. Together with Measure H, total expenditures equal 34.4. And public safety, which is police, fire, code enforcement, and animal control, with Measure H, are approximately 81% of the total general fund and Measure H budgets combined. So we propose use of $39,415 of general fund revenues to fill the budget shortfall for the fiscal year. We did not add any new positions, and staff was asked to compile a status quo budget. The end of my presentation.
That is the end of your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so we will now open the public hearing to the public. If any members in the public would like to have any questions, you have 5 minutes.
Mayor, if I may
Yes, you may.
interject, we actually have each department that's going to present. on
I
their
was going to
department
ask
budget.
that, so
Sorry.
So-
That's the end of my slideshow.
that's in your slideshow.
Yes.
Okay, so for whatever
Sorry.
reason, just wanted to make sure.
So we'll kick off.
So
the
we'll bring
department.
this back and
So
The next
next,
slide.
the departments will each present on their department. I'm going to start it off with just some general statements about the budget. And these will be across the board for all departments. We had,
Okay.
we'll notice an increase in personnel costs. If there's an increase in personnel costs in the department, it's due to the negotiated increase in salaries from the bargaining units. There is an additional July 1st to salaries. Any decreases, there may be some departments that have decreases in salaries, and that was due to retirement payouts in this current year. So there was a larger expenditure. So then that expenditure, of course, we won't have it next year. That's why there was a decrease. Workers' comp had an overall decrease of about 5%. And retirement had an overall increase of less than 1%. However, when salaries increase, of course, the charges for retirement will increase. But with this new fiscal year, the department or employees are now paying 100% of their employee share of retirement. So our overall retirement costs will decrease. We also had liability insurance cost increased by about 9%. And in our internal service fund for building maintenance, the cost of goods and services, we had an overall increase of 11%. So that should help answer some of the questions you may have. The departments will go over the rest of their budget. We'll start at public.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This is Sam Royal with the Public Works Director. As far as you know, I mean, the Public Works represents 9 different divisions. It starts with admin staff, fleet, wastewater, streets, solid waste, sewers, fleets, parks and facilities. I think my first introduction would be the admin. For admin for this year, the material changes are promotional activities that Cal Recycle Grant received for the fiscal year 22-23, which covered the increase in the expenditures. We will be applying for this grant in fiscal year 23-24, but will not incur expenditures until the grant is awarded. The other items that we moved over is under contract services is the budget for 1 temporary employee in fiscal year 23-24. I could take any questions in regards to that specific department.
we're going to hold questions towards the end after each department head goes through.
Oh, okay. So do you want me to continue then?
So please continue.
Okay. We'll now go to the fleet. For fleet services. For the fleet services, we have fleet allocation, which is a dump truck purchase, replacement of fees of crane truck purchase in prior year. Also for building maintenance allocation, we have an evaporative cooler replacement. Gas and oil and lubricants increase is due to the fuel price rising. And power equipment, we have a decrease is due to the ARPA approved expenditures for line stripers in fiscal year 2022-23. The purchase will not be needed for 23-24. And also we have lower costs for fewer vehicles to be replaced this year. So I think we accomplished most of the vehicles purchases for this year. So next year we're looking for fewer purchases to be made. For the wastewater. The changes for wastewater is where we have a training, the DMV behind the wheel, that is a requirement by the state law that we have to have these we have to have the staff trained behind the wheel in order to be classified for specific license, which is, I believe it's a B license. So we have to have the training done that way. Also, for fleet allocation, fewer vehicles to be replaced. R&M for non-automotive equipment, increase in cost for lift station and plant repairs, and also replacing lateral cameras. This is for wastewater, and also the parks and wellhead screen maintenance and repair and beneficial upgrades that were needed for that specific structure. Water pipe and valve fitting, the increased cost of the supply, that went up a little bit. On the chemical product, also it went up a little bit. Turlock Sewer Services, it decreased due to less water output. We are taking less water to Turlock Sewer. Pressure pipe, which is the force main pipe to Turlock. Computer increase, the increase in the SCADA and technical supply needed. For automotive equipment, it decreased due to purchase of a crane that was budgeted in 22-23 and no longer needed in 23-24. Streets. Division. Electricity went up a little bit due to increase in electrical provided due to rate increase, and R&M, which is for non-automotive equipment, battery backup replacement and rapid flashing crosswalk beacon. The price went up a little bit because of the material cost. R&M for non-structural items increased due to storm drain, materials cost increase, contract services. The ARPA grid prune will continue. The ARPA grid pruning in fiscal year 22-23 will not be continuing in fiscal year 23-24. That should fall under park, not streets. The Broadway material cost increase of material went up a little bit. Fixed charges for the permit increase, and we have power equipment purchase for thermoplastic applicator. That went up a little bit. For solid waste, printing and binding went up a little bit. The increased cost of printing and binding flyers, printing of the flyers and the public notification for various programs. And also there was a little bit of an increase on the promotional material charges for several grants that will be reimbursed by the grant funding. This includes various forms of advertising. There's water. We have a slight increase in the expert and consulting services due to the service water coming into the city. We are consulting with experts to do additional water studies for us and reclamation. And also there's a slight increase in travel and lodging for meals. The cost for of a per diem for employee training has gone up due to inflation. R&M non-automotive equipment for that the increase went up a little bit for fencing of water, for fencing for water yard, heat pumps, motors, and VFD generator. Contract services that slightly went up also. Well pump maintenance, sampling testing, and well painting and also service water. A little bit of an increase on the water pipe, the valves and material. That's because of the material cost went up quite a bit. We also have water meters and parts. The cost for the water meter has increased and are indeed there to continue the water meter replacement program. Construction material went up due to the availability of some materials. Also the wellhead treatment, the wellhead treatment media replacement and disposable for 10 tanks. The material went up quite a bit this year. Computer equipment for new buildings that we are requesting for the Rockefeller improvements the tenant improvement that we're doing for both buildings. And also that includes some furniture that we're requesting for the building. Now we're moving on to water conservation. Water conservation, the expert and consultant services went up a little bit, additional money budget for the program for special project and enhancement. Promotional activities went down a little bit, increased the cost of the water conservation supply of outreach program. And also the contract services went up just a little bit because of the radio ads that we have placed. And also the some of the furniture, we're requesting additional funds because of the water conservation being relocated to the future Rockefeller tenant improvement. Parks. For parks, the fleet allocation, the fewer vehicles, vehicles up for replacement this year, cost associated with the street sweeper return to the Department 30, which is streets. R&M, automotive equipment went up a little bit. They expected to complete several of the purchases that were not completed in the prior fiscal year. And contract services, it decreased a little bit due to the removal of the grid pruning program. Last but not least, would be facilities. On the facilities, the R&M for non-automotive equipment, the increased cost of and SCADA improvements for buildings. Contract services went up just a little bit because we have quite a few improvements to do for Fire Station 4 for the roof. City Hall HVAC replacement, PD sewer lift station, fleet evaporator cooler. For construction material went down a little bit during the current year. There were unexpected roof repairs needed, so we took care of that. Material and supplies went up a little bit because of the cost of lumber, and also the automotive accessories for the equipment for new vans that we purchased went up a little bit, and that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, Council, I'm Kevin Waugh, the Director of Engineering Services, and I'm pleased to provide the presentation was the CIP. This would be for Department 19 and 25. Or 95, excuse me. The Series Engineering Department Engineering Services supplies all facets of new development, infrastructure, facility planning, engineering, construction, and updating essential capital improvement projects. Engineering Department 19 basically is comprised, the budget would be 75% of that budget is spent on personnel, 20% on operation and maintenance, and 5% on capital outlay. Material changes from the prior year are promotional activities, which would include increased public output and awareness activities, contract services for engineering support, and we have a decrease in traffic control supplies as we recently upgraded our server. For Department 95, the CIP and debt services, this capital improvement project and debt service department ensures the conformance with the current engineering and construction standards, budgeting, consultant management, collaboration with other agencies, public awareness and participation, and construction inspection. Budget can be summarized that we have utilized 10% of our budget for debt service and 90% for CIP. The major change from the prior year is an increase in capital projects. Have a list of the projects here that we have 17 projects on the CIP list that we attempted this year. Still ongoing. Coming year has more than 30 projects. This is basically because our staff increased to its full potential. So we went from 3. We feel that we can take on this addition. Can you hear me better now? I'm sorry. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Chris Perry, Captain, Sirius Police Department. Tonight, I'm going to give you a overall of the police budget, which is Department 10, Code Enforcement budget, Department 13, and our police non-sworn budget, which is Department 9. Starting off with Department 10, the police budget, as Letitia stated, we prepared a status quo budget for you. We have a couple increases in some areas and a few decreases in some areas. To start off, we'll cover the area of investigative services. There was quite a decrease here from last year. This is an area where we budget for new hires, things like background checks, psychological exams, medical exams, live scanning, etc. We feel that we've been doing quite a bit of hiring and we're getting really close to being caught up. Therefore, we were able to put a decrease here because we don't anticipate hiring as many in the next fiscal year to come as we have been previously. The next area is travel, lodging, and meals. We have a slight increase here. This has to do with trainings that require free tuition, but we have to put an expenditure in the account to compensate for that free tuition, and then we get reimbursed later. And then also the cost of hotels we've been finding have been going up a little bit. So hence there's a little bit of an increase there. Next is canine supplies. The cost of our canine training has gone up a little bit and the price of their dog food has gone up a little bit. So there was a slight increase there. The next item is furniture and furnishings. We have recognized that our records division is in dire need of an upgrade. They're operating off of 20-plus-year-old furniture that's breaking and failing. And being that it's one of the first things that our public sees when they walk into our department, we want to replace their desks and cubicle areas with some new furniture. So we have a slight increase there to compensate for the furniture purchase. Next item would be computer equipment. And we have a slight increase here in this budget. We had received a grant for automated ticket writers, but the ticket writers covered our traffic tickets only. And there's side software that we have to purchase to allow the ticket writers to write our parking tickets, which is a whole separate idea. And we don't want to have our parking sites on paper and our traffic sites on, computer generated. So we're trying to get the software we need to allow the automated ticket writers to process our parking sites as well. Next is photographic and recording equipment. We have a significant decrease here, and this had to do with the cameras in the parks. That was ARPA spending. So originally the money was dumped there, which was $650,000 or whatnot, and we've decreased it to $3,200. So a big decrease there. Since the camera in the park project is completed, we no longer need that much money. We need a very small amount of money to compensate for cameras that we need for the police department. Next area is automotive equipment. We have a decrease here. And again, this is a pretty big decrease, and this had to do with the ARPA spending of the Sprinter van in the tone of about $150,000 for the crisis negotiation team. That van has been purchased, so we have that van. Now we're down to $20,000 that we're asking for in that account. So quite a bit of a decrease. And then lastly is public safety equipment. And again, we have a pretty decrease here. And again, this was due to big ticket items that were spent previously on, like the Faro, the crime scene scanner that we purchased. And again, so now we have this equipment. This is equipment we no longer need. So there's a decrease in that account. So essentially the decreases in the accounts, certainly make up for the slight increases we have in a few other accounts, still leaving us at a status quo budget. Next, we're going to move on to Department 13, which is our code enforcement. This is the only account that we actually have a little bit of decreases that is not status quo. And the reason why is in the first one, contract services. Originally, the graffiti abatement was all paid for with ARPA funding, but that is run out now for that. So we have to add graffiti abatement back into the budget so we can still have that service available to us. Next is photographic and recording equipment. We're asking for a small amount so we can purchase a surveillance camera that we can use for illegal dumps to try to catch illegal dumps. And next is a slight increase in automotive accessories. We're asking for a little bit to purchase a new 5x8 dump trailer so we can do a little bit more out there. We know that this may be a little bit to ask, but as you guys know, the code enforcement unit is doing really good work out there. And we want to keep, giving them the tools and things that they need to continue their success in the community. Last, we have Department 9, Police Non-Sworn. And really here, the only thing we have is a small increase related to IT services and calls for the non-sworn. A lot of it's related to dispatch type equipment. And that's all I have to present for you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kevin Wise, Assistant Chief with the Fire Department. My budget presentation this evening is pretty straightforward. I mean, we're just finishing our second year of our contract for service, so it's pretty straightforward. It's a fixed rate each year for a total of 5 years in the contract. With that, we do ask each year for capital expenditures. And this year we are asking to replace some radios, gas monitors, some hose replacement, and a thermal imaging camera for a total of $50,000. And that's it with our budget, and I'll answer any questions at the end.
Thank you.
Is it working? Okay. Okay. Mayor, Council, my name is Tamara Spade and I'm the Economic Development Manager. I apologize, but Christopher is out of town this week, so I will be presenting the budget for, I think there's 6 different departments. And I'm going to start with Department 45, which is our downtown revitalization. And that is the existing series downtown revitalization area. And it is, which is a parking and business improvement district. And for material changes, there are none for this year. We have Department 57, which is housing rehabilitation. And for material changes for that one, it looks like we're increasing the escrow and closing cost, continuing the first-time home buyer loans, which will require escrow and closing cost expenditures. And that's the reason they're going to go up. The CDBG housing rehab loans, staff is collaborating with Stanislaus County to develop new procedures for our housing rehab loan program. As such, staff expects an increase in program activity. And then we have the contract services, which will be decreasing, and that's housing consulting services will decrease the following year. Then we have Department 58, which is our series redevelopment our successor agency. And for material changes, subscription and membership. is all we did was recategorize our expenditure for retail coach consultants fee, and now that is recognized under contract services. Contract services went down prior year, recognized expenditure attributed to updating our economic development strategic plan, which will not be necessary again for at least another 5 years. And then we have Department 59, which is also our county successor agency for series. And for that one, material changes, we have subscription and membership went down. Is all we did was recategorize expenditures again for the retail coach. One successor agency, we do 80%, the other we do 20%, and that's why it was affected in both. And then we have Department 70, which is our building department. And that one went up due to contract services. There's an anticipated increase in building plan check and inspection cost, which are based on the volume of building permits processed. We anticipate an increase in volume due to increased development and activity that's going on in Ceres. And our last department, 75, which is planning. And there are no material changes from prior year. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Joey Chavez, Recreation Manager, Department 55, and we're also under the umbrella of Public Works. There's a few increases that we have. One of the top ones for us would be the increase of us to attend. It's called CPRS conference that's held every year. We eliminated that from our budget the last couple of years, so we're adding that back in this year for full-time staff. There'll be a slight increase in our special events. That's including Christmas Tree Lane, Trunk or Treat, the Easter egg event, and concerts in the park. We have a feeling that next few years that will probably be decreased, just with getting more donations. Contract services for our janitor contract will be a slight increase for next year. It's a year contract with environmental control, so we're expecting that to be an increase for next year. Our final one will be a slight decrease in our furniture supply line. We do have some funds available for this year. We're looking at right now to replace our stages that we have.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Delilah Vasquez here. A report on Department 66, Human Resources. The Human Resources Department only has a few materials to share. The rest of our budget remains status quo as well. The first is the increase in our expert and consultant services. All 5 bargaining units expire on June 30th, 2024, and the increase in funding requests will support council's assistance in securing new agreements with each of the bargaining units. The second is a significant increase in our training budget. According to the Society of Human Resources Management, 11.3 million jobs were posted in January of 2022, and resignation rates are at a near record level, and there has been a significant drop in employee engagement since the beginning of the pandemic. Economists are still expecting the labor shortage to last at least several years, and to maintain operations, employers need to keep and engage employees who stay. So Human Resources is seeking funding to support our efforts to provide personal growth and career development opportunities for our staff. And then the last is a decrease in our contracted services. We received ARPA funding to hire a project manager to assist with the ARPA projects and to also assist with the hard to recruit positions. And those are being decreased to support the request. And those are the relevant changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
My turn.
Okay.
So I will go for Department 60 and 73. So Department 60 is General City. And the General City Department, this accounts for expenditures which provide a citywide benefit. They are non-departmental expenditures that include general expenses of the city that are not attributed to a specific operational program. And examples of these include the city's membership to LAFCO and the League of California Cities. So the material changes in Department 60 this year. Under governmental purposes, the prior fiscal year had fewer property claims and an increase is estimated for fiscal year 23-24. The subscriptions and memberships, there's an increase in that account due to the city now participating in the Tuolumne River Regional Park membership. The transfer to Fund 265, there's an increase in this transfer to cover the ongoing costs of maintaining the Whitmore House. And there will be an increase due to a scheduled exterior painting of the house. And then we had a decrease in the special payments account due to the ARPA funds that were transferred to there. Those transfers will not be needed in the 23-24 fiscal year. And then for Finance, Department 73. Subscriptions and memberships are decreasing from the prior year, again, due to ARPA expenditures that we had in there for the RAD card program. Printing and binding costs increased due to the cost of the utility notices that are mandated by the state of California. Bill 998. And travel, lodging, and meals has increased. Lodging when we send employees to training.
Okay. Thank you very much for everyone's presentation.
That was the end of mine. We still have city
have
clerk. And
city clerk?
IT.
All right. Am I just jumping the gun or? Go ahead, city clerk.
Alan Martin, City Clerk. I will be presenting today on City Council, City Manager, and City Clerk's budget, starting with Department 63, City Council. We have a couple increases, one being to contract services. This will be related to the audiovisual contract that we have for our audiovisual technician to attend council meetings, as well as unforeseen emergency repairs. And also an increase in contract services for goal setting for a facilitator for the goal setting session. Also an increase to travel, lodging, meals, and training to incorporate the ICSC conference by council members. Moving on to Department 65, City Manager, there's only one increase, and that's to travel, lodging, meals, and training, and that is to include the annual League of California Cities City Manager Conference. And lastly, moving on to Department 67, City Clerk. We have a couple decreases, one of which is to election services and materials. Because it is not an election year, we are able to decrease that fund. And then also to contract services, decreasing it. The prior year incorporated monies for digitizing historical vital records that we've now are having ARPA funds pay for. So we are decreasing that out of the budget as well. And that concludes my presentation. Turn it over to IT.
Council, John Frederick, IT Manager, and I'll cover Department 16's budget. Our budget is driven by requests from the other departments. So this year we have had a slight increase in our contract services due to an increase in the number of Adobe Pro licenses and the addition of Bluebeam collaboration software for engineering. Agenda management package for the clerk's office. Our computer equipment budget. Last year, we received no requests to upgrade hardware. This year, there is some that needs to be upgraded. We are replacing the computers in engineering over 8 years old now. They've served us well, but it's time graded. Police department needs some replacements for report writing and detectives, and they have requested some large format monitor briefings. They have one that has worked well, but they've requested 2 more for traffic and the downstairs briefing room. And then for our communication equipment budget, we have a decrease here due to the purchase of the 5G mobile routers for the patrol cars with ARPA. And the rest of the budget is
Thank you. So we're good now?
So Mayor, that's the end of the department
Awesome.
presentations.
Thank you very much. We'll take this now to anybody who is here in attendance who would like to make a comment from the audience. If there's anybody here who would like to make a comment, please stand. State your name.
Just for the record, Mayor, you are opening the public hearing.
We are now opening the public hearing. Yes. Mr. Warren, welcome. Yes, you are the only one here
I see a
today,
lot
sir.
of citizens. John Warren, City of Syracuse. Good afternoon, good evening, city council members.
Christina, do you have the timer on?
If I run over, could I have a couple extra minutes since I'm the only one here?
We're going to stick with 5 minutes, sir. Go ahead.
In looking over this budget, it appears that there's like $101 million in expenditures and about $87 million in funding. A rough shortfall of about $14 million. The general fund is going to be balanced using reserves for the general fund. The general fund is just part of the city's entire budget. My question is, are we going to have a balanced budget? Or can we spend more money than we have coming in? So in looking at a couple of things, I noticed animal control has doubled in cost. It was like $500,000 or so last year, and it's almost $1 million going into this. Why? What are we getting from the county? It's going to cost twice as much as we had last year. And the county's giving us more money back in property taxes thing. I didn't hear any mention of the budget. But if it's going to cost us twice as much for the same amount, I would ask why. So my question is to the council, are we going to have a balanced budget? Or are we just going to have part of our budget balanced by using reserve, which really means the budget's not balanced because you're using money that you don't have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here besides Mr. Warren? How about on Zoom? Is there any hands raised on
There are
Zoom?
no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, with that being said, the public hearing is now closed. Bringing this back to the council for any discussions, questions, and actions. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question for Sam. Sam, on page 183 in the Parks Department, you have a $86,000 water services for your parks. I can't tell if that's for the lighting and landscape district or if that's for a specific park. Could you elaborate on that for me, please, sir?
Mr. Martinez, what page that would be on?
In the Parks Department, page 181. I'm sorry, 181.
81.
Water services, 86,370.
That water service, Mr. Martinez, is for the right of ways that we have throughout the city. And that's part of the LLDs, lighting and light landscape and lighting district.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Councilmember Vieira.
I have a couple questions. Had 70, which is The increase in planning and inspection costs, are these incorporate fees that are already incorporated or part of the fee evaluation that we discussed? So we're breaking even on the evaluations for building inspections?
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
There's a couple of them, but for just for 70, you had mentioned there was an increase in inspection cost, and I was wondering if these fees are incorporated in fees that are being charged out for the inspection, or is this part of the fee discussion that we had for evaluation at the prior council meeting?
So I think the increase in the inspection cost are through the county and passed on to us, which we are doing a fee evaluation now. So to make sure that we are not we're not being charged more than what we're charging.
And is that the same for the downtown redevelopment part? I saw there was a significant difference in income versus expenses.
So the downtown redevelopment is based on a pay bid, and right now we are using reserves for that. And we would need to, again, probably look at doing a fee analysis and maybe raising rates in our downtown district.
Okay, is it, Doug, is it possible to get that on a future agenda, or if that's okay with other council members? Since there's a significant
What's the referral?
for like 45, Department 45, the downtown district?
Just to get an update?
Yeah, to put the fee analysis back on the agenda to see if we can make that a balanced budget instead of having
City
the
manager?
huge significant difference that we have now.
I believe that's something that's on your radar, correct?
Yes, sir. So right now we're looking at bringing something back to the council, probably the 26th of June, to hire a firm to do our user regulatory fee study and find the nexus and get that passed, and also do our impact fees, which will be two separate council reports, but be hiring people to do that. And it takes about 4 to 5 months to get that done. That'll be brought back to council where you have the opportunity to approve the fees or decrease the fees after the next study is complete.
Okay, so it's already on the radar. And then the last one is, I think I kind of brought up already to you, so you're probably expecting this, which is 60, the Whitmore House. I saw we're just kind of bleeding financially there. Is that something that we can kind of pitch up a little bit? Or how else to put that politely? I think it's 60, the Whitmore House, when you guys were discussing the Whitmore House. I just got the binder today. I don't have it organized as well as I would like.
So that's another thing we're going to be bringing back. Vice Mayor Silvera has mentioned some things about that, I think, and there's some possibilities coming up. But also be tied into the fee study that we're going to complete. Sure, we're getting everything we can.
I believe it's not correct. Is that my understanding? Okay, it seems like it's bleeding financially for us. Okay, I think that was it. Then lastly, on 16 for IT, I know you had mentioned about upgrading software. I didn't know if we considered or even had discussions about trying to get Wi-Fi into the various community buildings, or possibly talking to the mobile server about doing some mobile cutting into their service to increase our connectivity and decrease their demand on their Wi-Fi.
That is something that we can implement. We have a purchase of enhanced Wi-Fi for this campus. They've been on order now for almost a year, and we still have no ETA on when any Wi-Fi equipment or enterprise grade stuff. It is extremely short supply, so it is on the road. But I don't know if we can promise that anytime soon.
Has it already been budgeted in the past, or do we have a fee estimate of what that is?
Yeah, it's already an approved ARPA purchase from the first round of ARPA funds. The order was placed in, I believe, October of 22, and they still have no ETA on.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, council member. Next, we have council member Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have new notification buttons up here and the mayor didn't see my button come on before we started the full presentation. My question is, back, excuse me. We have a $2 million plus debt, I guess, in the community center. And it's mentioned in here, like casually, but shouldn't it actually be part of the budget in the general fund and show the negative $2 million? And that's one question before this thing started. And the other big question was, when should we expect the audit to be complete for 21, 22?
Okay, so I'll answer the second question. We got the final draft report this morning. Review it and we will be done with the audit. We'll bring it back to council for approval. Your question about the community center. It can be part of the general fund, the community center deficit, but council has in the past wanted it separate so that we can keep track accurate.
Well, I wasn't part of the past, so they wanted it kept separate so they could keep track of the debt.
Of the deficit, yeah, and the
It's kind of my accounting program would have it part of the general fund, showing it as a debt. Our council has previously approved just to have it as a side item,
to have it
not,
as its
not
own.
part of the financial report. Okay, then the other question has to do with the entire department. And it goes back to our previous city manager. When I would question something, it was always, well, it's in the budget, it's in the budget. I understand that the budget is a dream, so to speak, that we're going to receive this much money so we can spend that much money. Last year, this year, my calculations show that we've budgeted over 400,000 rather, in travel and training. I'm not suggesting that we don't need to continue to be current in things, but I also think that we should not have a blanket spending the money. We don't have it, not necessary. And in the past, we've had employee issues where we're shorthanded, and yet we still sacrifice that department so that we can do the travel and training. Another issue that we didn't discuss clearly was our own budget. I'm not new, but I'm still not seasoned like our mayor and our vice mayor. But I know during our negotiation talks with the departments, we always compared Turlock and Oakdale, but we're in between those two cities. So when we're negotiating wages, we kind of compared those two cities. And our city council, we spend nearly $100,000 in insurance. And I noticed that those two cities don't provide insurance for the city council. We spent a lot of money in travel for different members. I think it's reasonable for the city to pay to go to this California League of Cities. It's $675 registration, a couple $100 for hotel. But I think that we should look at our budget, nearly $200,000. And, you know, since I've been on the council, except most recently, Pachoa Park, people have come here and asked, why haven't we done this? Why can't we do this? Well, it's, you know, we're spending, I just think that we should, first of all, study the training and travel, and somehow or another, just check it before we go ahead and spend it. And the police department, of course, is very important that they be kept up to date. Public Works sewer department, waterworks, those people required to have state certificates. We got to do that. But I just think that we need to consider that. And back to the $2 million, I think it should be part of the general fund deficit. That's it.
Thank you, Councilmember Casey. Vera, before we go to you, unless it falls along. Okay, do you mind, Martinez? I know you pushed your button. Go ahead.
Just one question, kind of following up with Casey. Are we currently charging for events that take place that are leaving the excessive and violate our contract? Because I know I've come in a couple times on Sundays and kind of hear about the messes or spills or dirt, trash still left over when they leave. Are we charging for the extra time? Because you had mentioned there was some extra costing, the custodial fees, or when they come in before church starts on Sunday, and I just want to make sure we were doing a charge back, or if there's a way we can incorporate that.
So for custodial for facilities, I mean, we have a
The community center, here at the center.
here at the center. Custodial,
Councilmember Vera, are you referring to environmental control? They clean Monday through Sunday every night after each event. So they go through mop, sweep. They vacuum a couple days out of the week. So they are cleaning every day on that.
No, I understand that. I just know when I come in, when I do come in a couple days a week, occasionally when I'm here, I hear about spills or messes that are in violation of the contract that they're supposed to be leaving it clean when they leave. So as a result, the cleaning staff is having to spend extra time. And I believe on one occasion, they were still here when I arrived in the morning. So I was just wondering, are we charging back the customer when they're leaving the facilities and are not in agreement with the contract that we have and the condition they're supposed to leave it?
Yes, so referring to, say, a Jago wedding, that when you're coming in on probably Sunday mornings, they are here till probably 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. There's sometimes that they're here when I get here at 7 in the morning because the event is so big. So if there's $1,000 deposit on the large assembly, and the customers do not say sweep or mop or dump out the trash, then we'll keep a certain amount of the deposit back. So typically we're keeping like $250 to $300 for that, that we'll take from the deposit. And we do let the customer know that we do that. There are some times that, some of the renters will say, we're not cleaning, you keep the whole $1,000. So that does happen a few times. It's been happening often. So we are aware of that, but we do charge the renters that additional.
Thank you.
So Martinez.
I think my last question is going to be for Tamara. In the planning in Department 75, there's the administrative secretary. Is that the planning clerk for their planning meetings, or is there, I don't see the planning meeting clerk on here. I know that would be Miss Montgomery, but I don't see a section for her in this. And then in the clerks, I see our clerk and our deputy clerks. I don't know where Miss Montgomery falls in that department. Is that her position?
There we go. Leticia, can you answer that?
Yes. Montgomery is the administrative secretary in planning. She also is planning commission.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Yes, thanks. 3 questions for Leticia. When we figure out the revenue increases for, say, 24, 25 or 23, 24, what percentage do you figure that out at? I know before, I believe it was 5%. Are we still on a conservative 5%? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And what percentage of the general fund is this $39,415 that we're going to use to balance the budget? The general fund?
It was
Less than 1%. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And excuse my ignorance, but the TOT tax, is that reflected in the general fund?
yes.
So with the new hotel going in, that could be huge for us. Thank you. And then just some comments. If you guys remember, right, some of you weren't here. Most of you were here. Finally, I think everybody was here in the room last year We bailed out the budget with $1.2 million in ARPA funds. And we sat up here and said that that wasn't going to happen again. And I just want to congratulate every single one of you in the room and your staff for making sure we weren't pressured to do that again. The 23-24 budget, a lot of different reasons that we're only at a $39,000 shortfall. Obviously, new revenue, which is going to continue to increase with all our new development. The department heads and the departments have done a fantastic job in spending. And remember, we used to rely a lot more on cannabis revenue than we do now. We barely get any money from cannabis revenue. And honestly, with the way cannabis is going, that's probably going to continue to go down before it ever goes up again. So congratulations to all of you for doing more with less. And probably the most important thing to me is you all been here before. If remember when we did this before, everybody was new except I think Letitia, Rick Collins, and he and I. Everybody else in the room was brand new the last time we did this. So using your experience, knowledge, and you've got us to a point where a lot of cities would love to be. There are cities that are a lot smaller than us that would love to have a $40,000 deficit and be able to bail it out with 0.5% of your general fund. So I think an absolute congratulations to all of you. And we have great people doing great work in this town. And I, as a city councilman, the vice mayor, are so proud to be able to say that in our community, that we're making strides that other cities would love to be in this situation. So thank you again to all of you for doing this amazing work and for supporting us in our craziness, because I know none of us know what we're doing when it comes to doing what you do. So we rely on you so much. And it's fantastic to have the fantastic people doing fantastic work every single day in this city. Thank you.
Any additional questions? We have another question, ma'am. There you go. Ms. Vieira, go ahead.
I just have one. I just want to confirm the updated budget includes that typo that I noted, the 100,000 typo that was in there. Was that affixed on the original? Okay. I just want to make sure it's fixed prior to a motion for approval of a budget with a mathematical error in it.
I was told it was fixed, correct?
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor? Good to make a motion?
I think we are ready.
All right, then I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-61 and resolution number 2023-62.
Those are to be together or separate?
We should do the resolution separately.
Okay, then I'll make my first motion to approve resolution number 2023-61.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-62.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion.
Congratulations.
Motion passes 4-1.
Congratulations, everyone. The city of Ceres is thriving. And with that being said, this meeting is adjourned.